I'm Kirti and I'm part of the admissions team at Great Lakes. I have with me Mr. Gautam Raju, Director of Admissions and Chief Operating Officer for Great Lakes. In addition, we are joined by alumni from the PGXPM program, and we have with us Mr. Shailene Merchant and Mr. Satya Kantipudi from the PGXPM 2014 batch. And we also have with us Mr. Karthik Purushothaman from the 2020-22 batch. Before we start this session, please note that if you have any questions during the presentation, do post them in the Q&A box on Zoom. I would now invite Mr. Raju to start today's session. Over to you, sir.
Thanks, Kirti. Thank you everyone for joining today. So I'll just briefly, give an overview of what we'll do today. First 10 minutes, we'll have a very quick presentation with a very broad overview so that everybody's on the same page with respect to the program contours. And primarily today, what we'll do is interact with the alumni of the program and, basically let, all the audience drive the session itself with, addressing any of the topics potential candidates would have in mind. Right, so I'll start with a short presentation, and as Kirti said, at any point you have any questions, feel free to type in those questions in the Q&A tab. I hope the presentation is visible.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Okay, great. So, to just give everyone a brief background about the PGXPM, Great Lakes, as some of you would know, started in 2004. We started with a unique program, a one-year MBA program designed for people with experience, somewhere between 2 to 8 years of experience, right? And it was a full-time program. Right, and that itself was very innovative because there were barely any such programs which catered to people with experience at that point of time, right? And second, what we said is we'll also have a program for people with much higher experience, right? Because post, let's say, 8-9 years experience, there is a much higher opportunity cost of time. People are already in manager roles, right? So the PGXPM was a program which was designed for people who were looking to transition from managerial roles to leadership roles, right? And this was a program which was again designed in a modular format so that people can continue to work in their respective companies while doing an intensive program, right? And there are all kinds of executive programs, but I think what's unique to XPM is that it's fairly intensive, right? You actually spend substantial number of days on campus, in 8-9 days at a stretch, once a quarter, and that really gives a fairly intensive and immersive experience, right? Because learning happens when you stretch, right? And that's a fact. It doesn't happen without effort, without being immersed in it, right? And the XPM is designed to precisely allow that. And because there are two things, right? One is what you do in the classroom and what you do beyond the classroom. Right, there's as much learning inside the classroom as outside, and especially when you're learning from peers, right? And I'm sure our alumni today who have been through that, they're better placed to talk about that. But so the PGXPM is a flagship executive management program of Great Lakes, offered every year since 2005. And today we have alumni who have graduated at different points. I'll introduce them once we are done with the presentation. So what sets apart the PGXPM apart from its intensive and in-depth experience is one, it's application oriented, because people who are joining this program are already practicing managers, right? So what is needed is that whatever is learned is something that's actually deployable in their work environment, right? That there is something that they can actually leverage and solve problems at their respective workplaces. So that's a core focus. The curriculum has evolved over the years. We are constantly looking at how do we make it better. And that's, I think, not just about the program. Great Lakes in general has always been a fairly progressive and innovative school. We are always looking at what can be done better. And I can talk about many things that we are perhaps the first school in the country to do. For example, analytics is one of the topics that we introduced as a specialization, first in the country, and we have been ranked the top school in that space ever since. Right. So in the XPM also we have some interesting courses now, which I'm sure were not there many years back. For example, on digital enterprise, as that has become like a extremely important area, right? And global business and so on. It's a accredited by AMBA UK. And it's now it's been accredited for many years. Great Lakes was the youngest school to be accredited by Association of MBAs UK, right, in India, and one of the youngest globally. And the interesting thing about the PG Experim accreditation is that it's accredited as a full MBA program, right? Even our PGPM, which are full-time 1-year MBA program, it's considered equivalent to a master's, whereas the PGXPM is considered equivalent to an MBA program by AMBA UK, and that's something that's respected globally. We have introduced some new things in the last couple of years, especially, and so there is a personal leadership development plan. We are now having an executive coaching as part of the program, right? Earlier it used to happen at the faculty level and all. Now that's like something that's a dedicated module, right? Because we thought that's something that would really help participants in terms of giving them feedback, guidance on a one-to-one basis, right? And now the Great Lakes network is also much larger. Great Lakes is relatively young as institutions go. We are about 18 years old, but in terms of our growth over the years, now I think we are among the largest schools in the country, with 2 campuses in Chennai and Gurgaon, and we are also one of the most highly respected schools, right? And our alumni, are now, especially our full-time programs, which are much larger in size. First batch graduated in 2005, right? So now our alumni from earlier batches are now out in the industry for about 15 odd years, right? So many of them are, especially full-time program alumni, they're reaching their 40s, right? And they're getting into senior management roles. So that has a big impact, right? Because now they're in decision-making roles. So that's only going to augur well for the brand and for the alumni network itself, right? Because the more senior alumni you have across the board, it's going to definitely help as you go along, because you are likely to find alumni in every industry, across every company, and almost across all major countries in the world, right? We have had alumni meets in even places like Sweden and all, right? And different parts of US, of course, and Europe and so on. So these would be, I'd say, some of the key benefits. But in terms of who this is for, as I said, primarily this is for people who are already in a managerial role, looking to gain leadership skills, right? Maybe you have an expertise in one particular area, right? You may be very good at what you do in your line, which is, I just interviewed somebody and was a subject matter expert, was a vice president at a healthcare company managing almost 370 people, right? But she was limited in her width, right? Not in depth. She was an expert in her area, but in terms of width, she didn't know about finance much. She wanted to introduce new services, and for that she thought she'd be better off if she had a structured learning of different topics which she was not exposed to, and apart from the things like leadership, negotiations, and so on, right? So that's a typical case. And then you also have some business owners who can benefit from the program by having that let's say check in terms of, because when you are a business owner, you don't tend to get feedback, right? You are the boss, but you can benefit from learning from how large industries work, from managers who have dealt with much larger scale, and of course from the faculty itself, because faculty are not afraid to tell you what you need to do. So that's an opportunity for the business owners as well. And then again, the people who are leading their own practices, CAs or doctors. We have had some, again, I interviewed this year people who were running, let's say, a, mid-scale hospital looking to branch out to multiple units, and there you have a completely new set of problems, right? One unit you can manage, you are physically there, right? How do you make that into a chain, right? So those are all things where having business capabilities on top of your domain expertise would definitely help. In terms of how the course is structured, as I said, it's an intensive program. It's something as rigorous as any full-time program that we offer, right? And there is learning in modules in the campus, about 1 week at a stretch every quarter. So 7 modules on campus, but there's also learning that's going throughout, right? There are classes that happen in each quarter in between the modules. Apart from that, there are also assignments. There are also things that you do together in groups, right? All the students, participants are divided into groups, and most of the projects are taken up in groups. So that's when you actually tend to apply. And then you have the projects, longer projects where as I was just discussing earlier, one of our alumni, Karthik, he's actually graduating from the current batch. He's like, today is a day for me to submit my project, right? So those are very much part of the overall learning experience, right? Because that's where you are actually applying whatever you're learning in the classroom. In terms of the themes, we have multiple areas of coverage, right? The individual courses are there in each area, finance, marketing, and all so on, the functional areas. But we have divided them into themes, right? More focused on the kind of competencies you are going to build, right? It's not so much about how many classes you attend, courses you attend, right? The focus in what are the takeaways, right? What is that you're actually going to learn about? So you have the business essentials where you learn about all the finance, marketing, and so on. There's an analytical core which forces you to think about anything in a far more rigorous analytical manner, as well as leverage the tools that you need to develop or to for better decision making in an analytically rigorous manner. You have the value chain demand and supply functions, which is more about the operations side and the supply chain side. Leadership and strategy, of course, those are I think the most valuable things for people who are in the managerial roles looking to get into leadership roles. Then you have technology, design, innovation, because that's something that's fundamentally impacting how business is done. Earlier we talked about the digital enterprise area itself as a new thing that we had introduced. We are talking about success in a globalized environment. Again, that was a theme that I mentioned earlier, right? And as I said, a lot of the learning has to result in applying things, right? So that's where you have the action-based learning, where you have projects and so on. And last 2 years we could not really implement, but we are actively talking to multiple schools now regarding offering a potential international immersion. That's provided if the most of the students in the class are interested in that. So overall we have 38 courses, but divided into multiple themes. Another dimension of the program is in terms of who the participants are, because as I said earlier also that half the learning is maybe from your peers, right? It's a rare opportunity for you to interact with people from beyond your own industry, from very, very different backgrounds, different industries, different functions, from a different cultural, geographic background, right? That's something that is an important aspect of the program, that kind of diversity that's there in the class. So on an average, the participants have about 14 to 15 years of experience, but it ranges from anywhere from 7 to 25 years of experience, right? And about half are from engineering, but half of them from other areas. Within engineering, of course, engineering is not one area. It's many different areas put together, and people may be in the engineering background, but they could be in a managerial roles as well. And in terms of industries, manufacturing is a major area, because Chennai itself is a hub for manufacturing. So we do attract a lot of them from manufacturing, but also from ITS, and all the other industries as well. Some of the companies represent in the last couple of batches. You can see the companies there across a wide spectrum of industries. Some of our alumni are in very senior roles. For example, I think the country head of Caterpillar is an alum. Like that, alumni are there in fairly large set of companies and very senior roles. So on that note, I'll actually come to our alumni, and as the speakers today, we have the privilege of having a couple of very senior alumni from 2012-2014 batch. Mr. Shailen Merchant, who's head of HR and at Chola MS General Insurance. He's been with the Chola Murugappa Group for a long time, and he's somebody who has, in a way, been a mentor to many others from his class, and to the Great Lakes alumni as well. He has led large teams. He has been, helping build and run large organizations within the Murugappa Group. And I'll actually let him speak about his own journey prior to the XPM, and post that as well. So I'll actually stop the presentation so that we can focus on the speakers. So welcome, Mr. Shailen.
Thank you, Gautam. Gautam, how long do I have for this?
You can take about 5 minutes.
Sure. So thank you so much for the nice introduction, Gautam, and thank you for inviting me for this session. It's always a privilege to speak to the potential students and the students at Great Lakes, and it's always a great place to connect again. So thank you. Coming to my experience with the Murugappa Group, yes, I'm almost a lifer at the Murugappa Group, started my career with them. But interestingly, I started my career in the group at a plantation manager level. And then I moved into production, quality, etc., and ended up in HR. And that is when somewhere in my career, I found myself, stagnating. And I said, I need to grow. And how do I kind of grow beyond this point? And that's when I started looking out for a program like the one that Great Lakes offer. So the couple of interesting things. At this point in time, you've lost touch with academics. You're not so well connected with, speed calculations on your various entrance exams, the way you kind of take those tests, you're lost touch. So you say, how do I manage this? And where will I get someone who can teach me? Because I already know quite a lot of this stuff. What else can I learn? As you rightly pointed out, many of us were then specialists. We were, subject matter experts in our, what in HR parlance we call as I profiles, specialists. How do I then become a T profiler? Somebody who's got a generalist and a specialist orientation. And that's something I was seeking. And that's exactly what the Great Lakes program offered me. And when I came in for my interview, I met with Professor Sriram then. And, he took my interview and I was offered the seat at the Great Lakes subsequently. When I came in for my class, I was very, very pleasantly surprised because I had members like Satya and many of my other batchmates who were there. And as you pointed out in your slides, many of them were for various industries. So we had someone from Caterpillar, we had someone from Satya was from HP then, and then we had people from Godrej. People from Godrej, actually, they were from different verticals of Godrej. And then we had someone from WAPCO and a whole lot of alumni. Interestingly, when we had our class discussions, what I found was that when we spoke on a subject matter, say for example, sales, we had someone with a B2C experience. We had someone with the institutional sales experience. We had people bringing in those experiences, and then the discussions became so much richer in the classroom that we took away a lot more than just the what the professor had brought. And the great thing was the professors themselves carried a lot of industry experience, and some of it overseas, some of it in international B schools. So the kind of discussions that took place were really, really enriching. And we all had time to kind of contribute back. The other good thing was every time we worked in different groups. So you also learned skills of how to work with different team members. How do you kind of drop your egos? Because everyone's a leader in his or her right, in their workplace. But now when you come back here, everyone's equal. So how do you drop your egos and then start working together in a collaborative manner? So you learned a lot more than just the classroom and what was being taught to you. So the peer groups that we formed then are so strong that even today we are all connected. And Satya will bear me out. We are all connected even to this date. Of course, we may not meet physically that much, but definitely we are connected on a day-to-day basis. The projects that you mentioned, the projects, I was actually working on a project for my organization, which I was able to apply everything that I learned in classroom back, and my project went live on a commercial scale within the organization. That's really what the value add my organization drew out of what I brought back from Great Lakes. The faculty member who was guiding my project was very, very supportive, and that really went a long way to make it successful for me. We also found that the structure of the program was extremely good. For example, we learned valuation in finance, and then we went into brand valuation in Dr. Tapan's class at that point in time. So what happened is we were able to pick and apply some of the concepts that we had learned in one class in the other. So the structure, the flow of the class. And I spoke to Professor Veeravali then, and then he told me, yes, this is something that we have distilled over the years and we've learned over the years. And every time we learn something, it comes back into the classroom, and then the curriculum gets refined further and further and further. And that's the value we again take back, because we're able to apply that back to the other classes. So every class is a building block for the future classes. And that really helped us, because then it's all building up very well, nicely comes together for us. So that's broadly what I wanted to say. In my own career, I was able to make a shift. I was a plantation manager, went into an HR role. What used to happen is we used to have these corporate board reviews, and the business guys used to speak, the finance guys used to speak, and you could not make out much about other than what your own domain was. Today, it's no longer the case. You are at the table and you can contribute at the table, and you can speak the same language that the CFO speaks, or the sales guy speaks, or the other business head speaks, because you understand that well. And I think that's what the door that Great Lakes, this program, opened up for me. It helped me to kind of understand that and contribute back there. Okay, so that's really something that I took away from this. I've now moved to a general insurance role, very, very different. I was handling labor at one point. Today I'm handling a BFSI company. I've got a very large workforce under me. But I made that transition successfully. And I think one great enabler for me to make that move was the PG Experim program. Internally, they recognized the fact that I'd gone through this program and I would be able to contribute. So they saw the potential of it there in the organization. That's all for the now. For the moment, we'll take questions later as it comes along. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shailan. And I think that was quite inspiring. Coming from managing plantation to managing the entire HR function for a large insurance company.
Yeah, that's right.
So that's it's an unbelievable journey. Right? I'm sure, you didn't anticipate that when you started. So yeah, I think that's quite inspiring. We have another very senior alumni, again from batch of 2012-2014, Mr. Satya Kantipudi. Mr. Satya is a director at HP Enterprise, driving growth for the Green Lake platform. And he has led many different teams handling business, outcomes, driving business outcomes for HP. And again, I believe you are had a very long tenure at HP, right? So I'll let you talk about that and share your experiences.
Great. Thank you, Gautam. Good morning, everyone. I think like Shailen mentioned, and I think I would have the same experience, but let me start with my profile and my experience with the program. So so I'm with the company HPE for 25 years, right? It's a long career. Like I think similarly, Silentji also had a long career. But
Yeah.
I think what this program enabled, right? I started my career as a technical support engineer, right? You know, I did that for, let's say, about 3 years, then moved into the service delivery management role. Then I moved into the services business role. Then I thought, you know, maybe I need to, because you always have that feeling that once you touch 35 kind of age, you are kind of a manager. Then, like Silentji mentioned, you also have that, what next? You know, how do I kind of transform to the next level? So then I came across this program. I used to live in Chennai that time, right? You know, so then I thought, okay, Great Lakes is near to the place where I'm living. You know, so I joined the program, and I kind of enjoyed the program so much. You won't believe that during the program itself, I got an opportunity international. I moved to Singapore. So first year I did it in India. Second year I moved to Singapore, and I used to come every 3 months back to India for attending the course. So
Right.
during the program itself, I thought, you know, maybe my thought process had changed, right? Because before the program, for you, it is all about the numbers, operations, speed, and how fast you do the job, etc. Once you go through the program, you know, you now you think big, right? You're thinking about, you know, how can I do bigger things, right? What else I should do? What can I get as an experience, right? So then I thought maybe one thing I did well is that I kept changing the roles. Like Silentji mentioned, I also never stuck to one role for more than 3 or 4 years. I kept changing the role, and I also leveraged this program experience. Then I applied for international role. I moved to Singapore and I started managing a larger geo, right? And I was then responsible for a business more than India, right? I was managing APJ at that time. Then I did that role for about 4 years. Then I completed the program. And, you know, like Shailenji mentioned, it's not just about what you learn in the program, it's also about the peer learning and the kind of joy you get from the learning, right? That was amazing. The facilities, no, they treat you like a customer, right? You know, you're not like a student. They take care of you, whatever you want, they will provide you. You get the best professor. I think what I liked is you get the best of the professors, right? Some of the professor I'm still in touch with, like Dr. Tapan Panda, Professor Raghu Iyer, I think he's still teaching at Great Lakes, right? If you really attend his class, you would love it, right? You know, maybe before the program, you would really stuck only to your operation. You would not understand finance. Maybe you would not understand marketing. But once you go through the program, you become a true general manager. You know, general manager, the one who can understand everything. You may not be doing a specialization on any of these topics, but you would understand everything. You can have a conversation with the CFO. You can have a conversation with the sales leader, business leader. You would understand the balance sheet, you know, P&L, everything you would understand. You are actually now, like Shailenji mentioned, you are on the strategy table. You know, you are able to understand. You can actually have a conversation with the, you know, customers at a very senior level, right? You know, otherwise you think that, okay, now I understand my services role, but what about the product role? You know, what about the sales role? Now I think after going through the program, you are a true general manager, I would say. Then it didn't stop there, right? And after I moved to Singapore, I spent about 4 years in Singapore. Then again, I got a better opportunity in India. I moved back to India in the same company. I always look for the opportunities within the company, but I never stuck to one role, because one role, I always believe that if you do a role more than 3 to 4 years, one is that maybe you enjoy the role, maybe you're delivering better result, but maybe you're not doing the justice to the role beyond 3 4 years. I always believe that after 3 to 4 years, you get into a comfort zone. You may not really get your best of the ideas, right? Maybe somebody else can do your job much better than, you know, what you can do. So then I always force myself to come out of that role, even if I do the best of the way I can do, but I still move out of the role, because I believe that somebody else can do better and I can do better in some other role, right? It's about continuous learning. So then I came back to India. I did a sales role. You know, I did a channel sales role. I traveled across India. I never stuck to one city. You know, I lived in Mumbai, Bangalore, Chennai, Singapore. Now I'm in Hyderabad. About 1.5 years, 2 years ago, I got an opportunity to take up a worldwide role. You know, I'm a director for one of the business channel management I do for the business. So sitting in Hyderabad, I'm able to kind of manage about 100 countries. You know, how do I kind of set up the channel business? How can I onboard more partners? How can I do a strategy planning for the business? right? So all this was possible, I think, maybe because of the transition I could do from kind of operational role, take up this course and move into a leadership role. So I really enjoyed. I think, I strongly recommend that, you guys consider doing an MBA like this, Executive MBA. I think you would really benefit out of it. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Satya. That again is like a wonderful journey that you had. So I didn't know that you're managing teams in 100 countries. I'm sure that's something that the future participants can actually benefit from. So I'm sure we'll want to have you in the class. Right? Same, Mr. Shailen. Again, you have managed multiple different organizations, right, across very different industries, right? And how do you like build the same values? I'm sure the group values had to be instilled in each of the businesses. So again, that's a fascinating challenge by itself. I'll now come to Karthik Purushottaman, and in a way, he's the closest in experience to the future participants of the program. As I said, he just is finishing his second year and the course, the PG Experim, by submitting his project today. So, his experience is as recent as it can be, right? So Karthik has been, a delivery manager at Wilco Source, and he's a very well experienced project and program management professional. He has managed multi-million-dollar projects, and believe spent almost 7 years abroad working with clients, right? So in a way, I can see Karthik at a position where Mr. Satya would have been many years back, right? Because kind of similar industries. Again, program project management before doing the MBA. So maybe you'll also have a very interesting journey, and hopefully can connect with Mr. Satya and benefit from his journey as well. So Karthik, tell us more about your background and your experience.
Yeah, sure, Gautam. Thanks a lot, and it's a privilege for me to be one among the great leaders like Shailenji and Satyaji, right? So it's again a privilege for me, and to start off my experience, yes, Shailenji's video that's, as you told, it's a great hit, right? Those are some of the trigger points for us to get fascinated about this program, right? Because as you say, it's more of we are stagnant at a stage and we are looking forward. Again, we don't want to lose the opportunity cost of getting to a full-time program, and again we are investing. So what usually the students who join look is the results, right? Where I go, what I do. So that's where the videos like Shailenji will help us, motivate us. We know that this is where we are going to head towards, right? And the webinars like this is also an added advantage. But during to start off with, my journey or my entrance was exactly during the COVID period. The COVID was peak, and that is where our batch is also a kind of a COVID affected batch. So we had a lot of hiccups during the course, right? How to do online, because we had a lot of regulations at the time, and I would say Great Lakes handled it in a well-renowned manner. I don't know if it can be handled in any other way, but we all as a batchmates agreed, and we got into the same alignment. We were given some hybrid model initially to accommodate. So that is where trying to reconnect the dot that Mr. Satya was saying, right? They look us as a customer, not as students, right? Because there is a subject in the program called customer for life. So that is how I think Great Lakes lives what they preach, right? It's not that they do something in academics, but they do something different when they come to the course, right? So that is one point. And going back to my background, yes, you rightly pointed out, Gautam. I'm in the stage wherein Satyaji would have been few years back. Yes, I come from a core technical background, started as a developer, then moved into QA, then at customer side, mostly program and project management, then came back to India, now doing the delivery management. But again, I'm looking forward to take up another role because I also follow the same pattern, right? That you can't do justice beyond a period in a role. That is how it is. You become monotonous. And obviously, you have your mouse on the right hand side, you click it. That's how it goes, right? So just to break that rule, I'm also trying for a different role, again a client facing role or a client partner role, which is again the reason I'm trying that, or the organization is believing me to take that role, is because of the experience or because of the thought process I bring into the system or to the table, right? So that is one thing. And yeah, I possess some 16 plus years of experience, and again, this journey has surely multifolded my experience to another level. Apart from this, yeah, so I can deep dive on certain things, right? Because I'm closest to the curriculum. As Shailenji mentioned, right? I also loved and I was very much attracted towards the way the course is curated, right? Term after term, you have that continuity. Some of the courses go along more than a term. They cut as a horizontal, right? Like we have a course taken by Professor Veeravelli, the negotiations and bargaining, right? It cuts 3 terms. It goes every term you look something different, or you learn something different. And again, they concentrate on your basics in the initial terms. Then at the end is where the heavy lifting of boardroom simulation, wherein you take a role as a C-level and you provide your decisions, commit marks that simulation. And finally, they also bring in corporate governance as the last subject, wherein you know how to run a corporate, but there is a way to run a corporate. So this is how the course is carefully curated. And I also agree with the point that most of them who join this course will be a high profile, but this course for sure will take them to a T profile, becoming a more generalist, wherein you won't have any hesitation, or you won't shy away to be in the C room or C suite table, right? Among your peer Cs, you can represent, you can talk their business language, you can understand what they are talking about. It's not that it's Greek and Latin for you anymore. So that's how you represent your domain. Again, you advocate the opposite domain, right? That is critical if you have to grow higher. Unless and until you advocate, you are not going to learn. So these are some of the critical learnings that I am experiencing as I talk. And again, the project, and recently some of the additions, right? The more or lighter added advantage, the technology domains, like they have brought in AI/ML courses, which is again, they are not going to go depth. They are going to make you aware, because people come from non-engineering background, right? As is shown in the statistics that I in my batch, I have doctor joining all the way from Dubai. Okay, and he doesn't know Python, or he doesn't know what the SPSS is going to do, right? But still, tomorrow, if he's director, or if someone is IT team is going to talk to him that this is what I have found out, he can advocate, he can cross question, he can cross examine, saying that is this right, is this a result right, or what am I going to do with the result. It's more than the technology, it's the usage of the technology to take decisions or to empower your decisions. That is what you get to learn from this course. So that is one thing. And again, the AGBA, right, the incubation center, because people also, I think the prospect students will also be venturing or looking out to venture on their own. So they have a support system for that. And if you can pitch your idea, and if your idea is unique and niche, for sure, I think they are going to join hands with you, or carry you in a safer hands to a level wherein from there you can take off on your own. So these are some of the additional benefits. Again, the alumni, greater or vast alumni, and we also get a lot of informative sessions. But one thing that didn't go well in our batch is the leadership talks. Again, it's because of the COVID and all those external parameters which no one can stop, right? The entire world went on a hold or went on a lockdown. So no excuse for Great Lakes. But the way they came out was extraordinary. Before even any other school wanted to bring back their students, I think Great Lakes was first among them to bring up a strategy that we can do hybrid and we can give the option. So all those initiations were really good, and I think I am in the verge of moving on to next role or next different horizons, because again it opened up my mind, right, that I'm not more into technical. I can talk finance to a CFO, I can talk marketing to a CMO, or I can at least suggest my thought process and ideas, right? So these are some of the embedded characteristics that I have started taking it. So that's my short experience. And the course, how did the course impact me? Thanks, Gautam, again for this opportunity. It was a good one. Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Thank you so much, Karthik. I think you did a better job of explaining the program than I could do, or any PowerPoint can capture, right? Because it's hearing from you actually what how it happens, and how that impacts, right? That only somebody who experiences can talk about. Right. So that was great hearing from you, and I think that's what is in store for folks who want to consider doing the program as well. So now we'll have a short Q&A session. So I think we can take up questions that are already addressed, and for those of you who may not have been at the beginning of the session, if you have any questions for either myself or our alumni, please type in your questions in the Q&A tab, and we'll take those up. So first is from Lakshya Dani, and he is in a family business and wants to continue in there. So what course would be good for me, MBA or PGXPM, and is IELTS required for PGXPM? And will it be online or offline? So I think I'll just address this. Lakshya, so you're in a family business. I don't know how many years of experience you have. If you have just finished your undergrad and joined, or you are already spent some years there, right? The XPM is for people with a certain level of experience, right? Typically at least 7-8 years of experience. So if you have that level of experience, then you have already dealt with certain challenges, right, that you face in the business world, right? So if you have that experience, I think PGXPM would be the right program. If you are, just done your undergrad and all, maybe you should look at one of the full-time programs, because there, you will have more time to learn due to your lack of prior experience. So that would be more helpful. But I would request any of the alumni to comment in terms of in general about, whether it makes sense for family business owners to take up the program.
We had a batchmate who was running a family business, and he was the youngest in the class. Okay, and from the amongst all of us. But what did happen is that he had a great takeaway from the entire program, and because he was with me in several groups, and we still continue to be in touch. He's also Chennai based. We keep meeting, and definitely there was a lot of takeaway that he shared with us that helped him get into the business, because his father and grandfather used to run the business. His grandfather passed away somewhere down the line, and then I know, because we are connected post the program, and he has taken over the reins of the business and he's running it successfully today. So definitely there is value for a family entrepreneur to bring to the program. Karthik did mention about governance, corporate governance. So apart from learning the various elements of business, you also learn how to manage a business well, and that's very important, because a value-driven organization is an organization that will last long and be there for the next generation to take over. So I think it's a great place to learn for entrepreneurs too.
The question from Shruti comes from a marketing background, looking forward to move into marketing analytics, have 5 years work ex in marketing analytics. Will the PGXPM help in making the transition? Shruti, I think your experience is still on the slightly lower side, right? I think you're still looking at the transition at a functional level, right? So we have a program called PGPM Flex, right? Which would be more suited for you. It's a weekend MBA program. There you'll have peer group with similar level of experience, right? The objective of the XPM is not to develop more of functional expertise, which is, let's say, in analytics or any of the other areas, but to more develop leadership capabilities, right? Where you leverage all these tools. So you still have courses, as Karthik mentioned, in AI, ML, and so on, But that's not the intention of that, is not to make you an expert in that area, but to ensure that you are able to leverage these new technologies and tools for better decision making within your organization. So do explore the PGPM Flex, which that may be more suitable for your level of experience. So that's a good question from Devan, that since all of you are in senior roles, how did you manage to balance your work responsibilities with program schedules and deadlines? And let me add to that. As I said, I was just interviewing somebody who's a vice president at a healthcare firm. Again, the one question I had was, 7 days on campus, that looked to be the only challenge, right? So that's actually a common question that we get all the time. I respond by saying that for deep learning to have, you need to be immersed in something, right? And it's not that every day you'll do your MBA, right? So when you do it in depth, you dedicate the time and focus, and that's also a way to disconnect from the day-to-day life, right? Everybody has enough things to deal with on day-to-day life. So if you have to get the quality of learning, you may need to actually disconnect. But I think you have all been through that, right? So I think each of you can respond on this.
Yeah, Satyaji, you'll take it first. Then
sure, Shailenji. So I think this is a great question, because when you're doing any operations role where let's say you're responsible for a team or a business, it's very difficult to spend a week. It's not just about the week, right? You would also have a continuous learning. You will have a lot of assignments, projects, etc. So you would really have to commit a lot of time and resources for this program. But I think what made easy for me was that I took approvals from the, let's say, HR manager or my manager or VP. Even when I applied for a new role during the program, I moved to Singapore. So when I was applying for that role, I told them that I'm doing a kind of PGXPM program. I would have to go back to India for about 10 days, every 3 months, right? So you'll have to have these kind of approvals in place. While during the program, once in a while, you have to take the phone, maybe you have to reply to emails, all that is okay. But I think you'll have to really balance it by getting those backup plans and approvals, etc. Otherwise, it would be tough. But I managed it that way, right? I had approvals. Maybe you have a backup during, when you're away, you need to have your second line to take care, etc. That's how I managed.
So in fact, let me just add a bit of information. When you did it, it used to be 9 days at a stretch.
Yes,
right?
9
2
days,
full weekends.
Yeah,
that's right.
So leveraging the fact that now we are, have the tools for doing some of this online. Now we have reduced that to 7.5 days.
Yes.
So that people have at least, 1 weekend day available, so that they can catch up on the personal side, right? Apart from all the corporate work, at least they get 1 day in.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's like 3 weeks without a break, right? So now we have redesigned in a way so that it's more flexible and is at least balancing it better. So it's easier now than your time.
So I had a similar experience. I was in HR. I had dual reporting. One was a dotted line to the group director HR, and one was to the business CEO. So I did the same thing. I told both of them and applying. So at the time of application itself, I took the approvals and the permissions rather. So they were very supportive, and I think that's critical to success. And when it also comes to your projects and applications, back at workplace, so what I did was I made sure that I was able to show them what I've learned in the last quarter, how do I apply it back to work? So when I went back to work, applied it, and they saw proof of that. So then they were on board and they said, okay, great. This is bringing value back to the organization. So when I took that 7 days leave, the 2 weekends in between that we were on leave, they were not bothering us in terms of pushing work, because they knew at the end of it, they're going to come back and bring some value back to the organization. There were the odd mails and the calls that you have to take, but we always made it clear that we would take it after class and not during class. It's not possible to pick up calls during class. And people are very supportive. And the team below you also has to help. So they are on board with respect to support. That was critical to success. But let me tell you, in spite of all that, it is a stretch. We have had days when we have done all-nighters. We have had days when we have written worked right through the night and submitted the document the next morning. And that's part of the learning, okay? Because when it comes to workplace and you are asked to stretch, you will not feel it because you've already done it in class. You will not have that problem. Yeah.
Karthik, you're just through that.
Yeah, exactly. It was a night out for me yesterday, and I'm here in the call, right? Yeah. So I agree with I second with whatever Shailenji and Satyaji has told, right? It's you. One thing that I have learned, and it will help you long term, is also delegation, which is again a management skill that you have to learn. And
Absolutely.
it's not along with delegation, you have to find that second line wherein you can delegate it with trust, right? So you have to create that first, and second thing is that you let your corporate or a company know that I'm going to go through this and this is my timeline. Give them advance notice, and Great Lakes will support you with that. They will give you a next term timelines well in advance. You give them advance notice. You tell them that these are my delegation POCs, so they will take care. And again, yes, some odd calls, some odd meetings you might have to step out and take if it is very critical. And it's again how you form the peer group, right? For example, I want to give you a recent thing happened, right? It was our last term, but one of the members have to travel to Chicago at the same time where our program or our residency tenure was put up, right? So he convinced all of us, we have to agree, we have to balance our stuff because it was the last term. If he has to miss that term residency, he has to repeat it after a year. So it's how you connect with your networks and make that happen. Only thing is that you have to be proactive in your actions. That will help you to balance your time. And end of the day, everyone has 24 hours. You can't buy more time than that. So you have to manage stuff, and it will happen as you get into the program. But yes, plan stuff that will be really critical.
There's a question from Prabhu. Is this a certificate we mentioned as MBA or PGXPM? It's going to be PGXPM, right? It's an independent program, and it's globally recognized by AMBA UK as equivalent to an MBA program, right? But more important than any certificate is the learning that happens, right? Ultimately, value comes from what you are able to do, right? And once organizations see that, that's where they'll give you more responsibilities. That's where you create more value and you get rewarded as well. So there's a question from Vikas. He has 10 plus years of experience and still in a IC role. I don't know what IC would mean, but
individual contributor. Yeah.
Okay. In finance, and in a place where the hierarchy is mostly flat, presently working with MNC banking credit risk. Will this program help me? Shalini, you want to take that? That's from your industry, and you are the HR head.
So definitely it will help you. And what does happen is that within the function itself, you could make shifts because in the finance function, if you see, we from outside, when I was looking at finance, I was not very clear of how it used to be initially. You will not understand what is taxation, direct taxation, indirect taxation, and then the MIS, the reporting, etc., etc. But when you get into the program, you go back, and now you start understanding these functions much, much better. So from an outsider-in perspective, and then you understand the hierarchy, the way it works there, and then you see that there are opportunities for a career growth within the finance function, and laterally within the function you can move, and up the hierarchy in the same function also you could move. So definitely this would provide you an opportunity. And we also have people in finance who have moved into non-finance roles. And because they understand numbers well, they have been able to make those shifts. And if your organization has a job rotation policy, or it has an internal job posting policy, and you would be able to apply for some of those other roles also using this. So these are various avenues that will open up to you post this program.
Yeah, maybe I just want to give an example.
Sure.
So I used to have a colleague, who used to have a finance background, but he kind of took out time and he applied for a business role, and he's very successful business manager, right? So actually finance managers can actually make a better business managers in my view. So you can actually easily shift the roles.
Actually, let me compliment what you're saying, Satyaji. A lot of the group CEOs in the Murugappa group are chartered accountants or people who come to the finance stream because they understand numbers very well, and they make excellent business leaders because that is very critical to success. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think the switch that has to happen is, looking from, let's say, an accounting perspective, right, to a business perspective, right?
Yes,
because a lot of the people in finance are typically CS and all, and they're a lot more focused on. That's my own experience dealing with my own colleagues, classmates, as well as our internal finance team members, right? That which has to happen from looking at it as the accounting side versus the business side, right? It's not always about saving costs. Sometimes it's about also investing strategically. So that is something that I think having broader perspectives will help with.
So that you'll actually understand the business levers you need to shift to make an impact on the financials, and that's going to be also useful.
So this question from Parag. He has 16 years in software quality assurance, working as a QM manager in an Indian company. Wanted to understand how this course is viewed by HR and other companies in terms of changing field of work and getting into higher management. So I think the question is about how this program would be viewed by, let's say, HR or let's say other companies.
So executive MBA programs are definitely valued by organizations, and if you have an MBA program, it definitely helps you to make shifts. Like I mentioned to you personally, internally, I made that shift only because of the PGXPM program that I went through. So it is valued. It is not that you only have to have an MBA from a business school. The value comes because it's experience plus an MBA, right? That's where the value comes. And even when I go to campus and I hire, we always look at people who carry some experience and with the structured learning input. So that structured learning input comes from this, and the experience brings in the life learning. Yeah.
I think the answer would be obvious from all that has been shared by the panelists so far, right? I think instead of looking at it in a, let's say, a superficial sense of you're getting a certificate and what the certificate adds value, the certificate doesn't add any value, right? What adds value is how you transform yourself, right? How you make yourself more capable, right? And once you make yourself more capable, companies want capable people. At the end of the day, they want people to deliver on the job, not I want a dozen MBAs, right? They want people who can accomplish things. And we have two examples of people who didn't even have to shift from their companies for growth, right? They moved all the way to the top, across countries, across industries, right? And that is only possible when you deliver at your job, right? So why you are doing the program is not so much of getting a certificate or whether somebody understands it or not, but because you want to make yourself more capable and competent, right? And take up larger responsibilities, right? And once you do that, the rewards will usually follow that, right? Anybody who's capable, even if you don't do an MBA, you are just an undergrad, right? If you have proven yourself, there will always be value to that, right? And that's what Karthik was also saying, that you have to demonstrate that, right, at your work. And Mr. Shailen said, he could justify to his company taking 9 days off by immediately adding value at the workplace. So that really is where the transformation happens, and that's where you get the value. You add value to the company, and the company in terms rewards you and recognizes you.
Yeah. So maybe Gautam, to complement, right? So I think so exactly answered Parag's question. Yes, if you have a PGXPM program in your resume, it is going to help you to enter the gate easily. But will it get you to the seat? No. It is you who have to demonstrate what value you can bring to the current organization or the future organization. That will help you to get the seat. Just the PGXPM MBA will not get you the seat. So that's how it is. this to add more, this 16 years of experience in QA, you can grow in vertical also as a QA director or a QA VP. And as Shailenji and Satyaji is saying, you can also look at the cross roles, maybe take over the entire delivery, not just QA across the organization, or move on to some client partner role, or move on to some non-IT roles also, right? Maybe some strategic, you have a QA experience. If you want to build a new QA organization or a QA group within your organization, you can put some strategic thinking to it, right? How do I do it? How do I beat my competitor? What is the edge? So all those things is what you can start displaying once you go through this course. For sure, it's going to be helpful for you, Parag. I think it's worth to give a try.
So question from Vinod on, is the PG XPM an accepted qualification to pursue a PhD? I think Vinod, MBA is typically a terminal degree by itself. It's a professional qualification, right? And a PhD is more of an academic qualification, and you actually don't need an MBA or anything like a PG Experim to actually do a PhD, right? In India, if you look at the IIMs and all, the PhD requirement is basically 16 years of formal education, right? That means if you have an undergrad, you can do a PhD straight away after doing undergrad itself. So whether you do the PG Experim or not, it's not going to make a difference in terms of qualifying for PhD, but it would add value in the sense that you have broader perspectives. If you're wanting to do a PhD in the management space, of course, doing a program in that area is going to help you being much more prepared to do a PhD in the management area, right? So, but as a qualification, it won't make any difference. Question again from Devang, and again, a very good question, is how do I prepare for the PG? And maybe this is the last question we should take up, right? And because it's the most valuable and most relevant. How can I prepare for PG Experim before I join, right? Should I do some short courses in areas outside my domain, or the program itself will be sufficient?
Karthik, like to take that? He's the most recent.
Sure, exactly. I'll do that. Yeah. So I think I would say yes and no. If you have time, I would encourage you to do some gradual reading, not intense reading, right? A gradual skim through of all other domains. Maybe watch the news closely. What's happening across? How is the GDP impacting your organization and all those things. But if you are not doing, or if you're again your work is very tight, the courses or the professors, what they do is that they curate the course in such a way, in case there is a pre-read required for you to get into the course, they connect with you before even the course or the term starts. They do a pre-session to brief you about the course, or to get you up to the mark, so that when they start the class, right, you are not left behind. So those kind of pre-reads, not for all the subjects, but for critical subjects, the professors do that. They are great enough to do it, because they know people come from varied background, right? People come from core finance, people come from core marketing and sales, people come from core delivery, people come from HR, people come from professional services like doctor, or there are entrepreneurs. So bringing all them on a same table is taken care by the professors themselves. That is where the professors of Great Lakes are world renowned, because they have done batches, right? This is not their first batch, and they have worked outside. There are some visiting faculties who work with very eminent Ivy League also, right? Because for our current strategic business development, there was the professor from I think Chicago, Illinois University, right? Coming all the way from US just to take our course. So when he wants to travel all the way, he makes sure that whatever is the pre-read is well received by the students. But yes, obviously, at the end of the day, you have to put your hard work to do the pre-read. And what I'm saying is, if you're not doing a pre-read before the course or before the entire PGXPM program, but at least you have to do the pre-read before your term or before the particular course starts. That is the extra steps that you have to do. So the course itself is designed in very good manner, that they bring in everyone from different walks of life at the same point, so that from there you add values, or you add value based on your experience. Yeah, over to you, other panelists.
Mr. Satya, would you like to guide on what habits to build, right? I would say,
Yeah.
one is the coursework and all, but at a broader level, what habits to build, right, as you get into the program and beyond.
Yeah, maybe I will talk about beyond, right? After the program, for example, now somebody asked about what about the pre-readings. Yeah, I think Karthik has kind of narrated, what is required. But I think what I realize is that after the PGXPM, you will start reading a lot of books. You will be addicted to not to leave the knowledge you gained, right? You want to continuously be in touch with what's happening in the GDP, what's happening in the economy, what's happening in other country, what is happening in Russia now. For example, I'm now reading a podcast on Russia rising and China rising. I would have done about 150 books after my PGXPM, because you don't want to lose that. It really takes you to a different world. Okay. It gives you a lot of insights about the business and what's happening in the market, etc. How other people have built the companies. So you don't want to. You always want to be in touch with that. For example, I read about Elon Musk about 6 months ago. So you want to keep in touch with what's happening in the world around, right? So you will be addicted to know more, and maybe one way is to keep reading books. Like for example, when I go for my morning walk, I have Audible, right? The subscription. So I spend about 30 minutes to 1 hour reading some other book. Like that, I completed about 150 books. Right? That is one habit. Like that, you can have many other ways.
Shailen?
So, see, specific to me, before the program, I had not prepared anything for the program. That directly answers your question, Devan, in terms of reading up on a subject matter or something, because come with an open mind and you're going into the hand of experts. They are going to teach you well. And they're going to give you pre-reads for the program. Yes, definitely, that's something you need to do. What like Satyaji rightly said, the curiosity is awakened when you get into the program, and then you need to keep feeding that curiosity, keep reading up. So please do keep reading up on what's happening globally. In fact, I'll tell you what happened to me. We had a professor who taught us on foreign currencies, the kind of exchange rates what's happening in international finance. And we were able to relate that to what we were reading in the newspapers every morning. And when something was happening with China, when they were devaluing the currency, we were able to predict that, yes, this is thing. That's all application of what you learned in the classroom there. So that's what's going to happen to you. You're going to become a lot more aware of what's happening rather than just reading a newspaper or hearing a conversation. And your quality of conversation participation will be much, much superior, much, much better and very different. And keep that going. Don't let that go. Remember, this is in a point of time. Even now, when I was watching the presentation, I realized that things like digital entrepreneurship or executive coaching were not there in our batch. And maybe you guys are beneficiaries of that going in, because executive coaching is so so important to success. Someone asked about family business, and we said there's no feedback possible for family business, but the coaching support that could come into a family entrepreneur, from a senior entrepreneur from a different industry or a family friend, is so much value back. So these are things that is going to get, this curiosity is going to get awakened in you, and make sure that you draw on this. Don't let go of this, because that's going to really help you succeed in life. So keep that going. And even I think Satyaji rightly mentioned that keep that learning button pressed. Even at this age, we're learning.
Yep. Yeah. So, I, as an admissions director, I'm, always giving advice and guidance to a lot of students, right? Especially the full-time students, right? And the three ways in which learning can happen. One is by your own mistakes, right? Through your own experience, you spend time, you make mistakes, you learn from that. That's a hard and most expensive way to learn, right? So that's one. So that time will take care of. Second is you learn from others, your peers, people around you, mentors. So find mentors, right? Find a mentor within your own company, right? And in a way that will also get them to support you and get a buy-in, right? You make a mentor out of your senior. He'll help you out, right? With the giving you some leeway during the program, and also he'll vouch for you, right? That you are investing in yourself and will add value to the organization. So learn from people, your mentors. It can be from, folks that you interact with in peer companies, or it could be vendors, it could be clients, right? Wherever you can, anybody who you admire, get them to help you out, give feedback, suggestions, right? The third, but again, that's limited, right? How many people you can meet, who you meet, in a way is constrained, right? So the one thing that is not constrained and the cheapest way is to learn by reading, right? When Mr. Satya was talking about finishing 150 books, that's something that I totally vouch for, right? Because that is scalable, right? It costs nothing, right? 500 books is nothing, right? Kind of what you learn. You can learn from the entire life mistakes of great leaders, right? Instead of from your own, you can learn from 10 others and very successful folks. Similarly, you can cover each and every topic in much more depth than you can ever in your own experience, right? So that's a great habit to build. And if you can start that before coming in, and not necessarily something related to the course and all, right? It's just a general habit. That would definitely help you get the most out of the program. And again, connecting with people, your peers, learning from them. So all this, as long as you have that curiosity that Mr. Shailen spoke about, wanting to always find out more, analyze things, understand why things are happening. I think, learning is cumulative, right? The more you learn, it accumulates over a period of time. So I think it's important to start the journey. It doesn't matter where you are. And the program is only helping you kickstart, right? But learning is going to be lifelong. So don't look at the program as an end in itself, but just a beginning of a journey. And I'm sure that's going to help you, get to very, very different level of perspective over a period of time. I think we have addressed most of the questions, and I think this was a good topic to end on, because this is actually the most valuable thing, right? On what do we do, right? Because that's a question most folks have, and not too many people actually have the benefit of mentors who can guide, right? So I think it's a good topic to end on. Let me thank all of you for taking the time today on a weekend, Saturday morning, and especially some of you for handling very significant responsibilities, across very large organizations. That's very valuable and precious time, but I'm sure that's going to help many others who are in your shoes, and look forward to emulating you. And also, Karthik, I really appreciate, I didn't know this, that today was a assignment submission and you had a night out. This was planned in advance, but so nice of you to have actually accommodated despite knowing that something like this is going to happen. I'm sure you knew that you had a deadline.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you taking the time as well. So thank you all, and look forward to being in continuous touch with you, and hopefully you'll also be able to spare some time to address current and future batches as well. Thank you everyone.
Thank you, Gautam. Thank you, everyone. Pleasure meeting you all.
Thank you, Gautam. And hey, thank you, everyone. And all the very best to the prospective students. All the very best. Do well. Thank you.